All right, so you think you know presidential inaugurations. All the pomp and circumstance, the speeches,
Yeah.
the peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah, but you know what often gets overlooked?
What's that?
The weather.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to forget these events happen outside.
Totally exposed to the elements.
No postponing just because there's a blizzard or something.
Nope. Show must go on.
We're diving into the history of inauguration weather.
Specifically, some of the coldest inaugurations on record.
We found this fascinating document.
Yeah, it lists like the top 10.
The top 10 coldest inaugurations, and let me tell you, some of these stories are pretty wild.
Like canaries freezing to death at the inaugural ball.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that one.
That's a good one.
Let's start with a record breaker. Ronald Reagan's second inauguration back in 1985.
Ah, yes, 1985.
7 degrees Fahrenheit.
7 degrees.
It was so cold they had to move the whole ceremony indoors.
Into the Capitol Rotunda.
Could you imagine the scramble to make that happen?
Oh, the logistics must have been a nightmare.
Security, the guests, the media, all crammed inside.
I bet there was a lot of grumbling.
Not to mention they canceled the parade.
Yeah, talk about a tough call.
You don't just cancel an inaugural parade.
Especially not for something like bad weather.
It really shows you how serious the situation was.
Absolutely. I mean, parades are a huge part of the tradition.
Right. They symbolize national unity, start of a new administration.
Exactly. Canceling it would have sent a strong message.
I wonder how that decision was received.
By the public, the international community,
It'll be interesting to see the media coverage from back then.
Definitely.
Okay, let's go back even further. 1873, Ulysses S. Grant's second inauguration.
Ooh, that's the one with the canaries?
16 degrees Fahrenheit.
And those poor canaries.
They were brought in for entertainment at the inaugural ball.
Imagine that.
Live canaries at a fancy ball.
It's so different from how we do things now.
Right. Like using animals for entertainment at a formal event.
It just wouldn't fly today, no pun intended.
It makes you think about how people viewed animals back then.
Like, were they seen as more disposable?
It's a good question.
And it wasn't just the canaries.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
They say the food and drinks were freezing solid at the ball.
Really?
It paints a pretty vivid picture of how unprepared they were for the cold.
A far cry from the climate-controlled events we have today.
Totally.
You know, it wasn't always just the cold that caused problems.
Oh, right. Like FDR's second inauguration in 1937.
That was a washout.
Pouring rain.
Over an inch and a half.
Talk about bad luck.
It just goes to show inaugurations have seen it all when it comes to weather.
You really are taking a gamble with these outdoor events.
Mother Nature can be unpredictable.
That's for sure.
Speaking of gambles, let's look at some other notable cold weather inaugurations.
Okay, I'm ready.
John F. Kennedy in 1961, 22 degrees with recent snowfall.
Wow, that's cold.
But the ceremony went on as planned, outdoors.
Dedicated to the cause.
Then there's William Howard Taft in 1909, a full-blown blizzard.
A blizzard.
They had to move the ceremony indoors for that one.
Makes sense.
And James Buchanan in 1857, a snowstorm during his entire ceremony.
He must have been freezing.
It seems like moving the ceremony indoors was pretty common back in the day.
Yeah, it highlights how technology has changed our relationship with the weather.
We're not as vulnerable to it anymore.
Right, we have more control.
Even Abraham Lincoln delivered his first inaugural address outdoors in 29-degree weather in 1861.
Back then, there was a certain expectation of resilience,
Or maybe a sense of duty to tradition.
I think it was a combination of both.
Fast forward to 2009, Barack Obama's first inauguration.
Oh, yeah, that was a chilly one, too.
28 degrees, but the ceremony went off without a hitch, outdoors.
I bet there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work to make that happen.
I'm sure they had contingency plans for everything.
Heated seating, blankets, maybe even hand warmers for the guests.
All the things you wouldn't think about.
And it's not just about comfort. Safety is a big concern, too.
Of course.
You don't want anyone getting hurt because of the weather.
So we've covered frozen canaries, relocated ceremonies, presidents braving the elements. What stands out to you the most from all this?
You know what's really fascinating to me?
What's that?
It's how our approach to these weather challenges has evolved over time.
How so?
We went from just enduring the cold to having these sophisticated contingency plans.
That's true.
And it makes you think, with climate change and all the unpredictable weather patterns, how will future inaugurations need to adapt?
That's a good question.
Will we see more indoor ceremonies?
Maybe even move the inauguration to a different time of year.
Who knows?
It's a good reminder that even something as traditional as a presidential inauguration
Is still at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the surprising world of inauguration weather.
It's been fun.
Until next time,
See ya.
don't forget to like and subscribe.